joining me today. It's a beautiful fall day today. It's actually kind of getting colder towards the end of the afternoon now, but anyway, I have a few projects that I have to do, and one of them is doing fall maintenance on hydrangeas. And I thought I can just show you how I do the fall maintenance for my hydrangeas, and hopefully maybe this will help you to maintain your hydrangeas as well, or maybe you can take some tips from me and incorporate with what you are doing. So anyway, I've been so behind because we had a really bad windstorm, very strong windstorm, and we have lots of leaves falling. So I've been just busy, keeping busy just to pick up lots of leaves, and then we had lots of rain, so I'm behind on stuff. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start with this. So usually I always fertilize my hydrangeas in the fall. There's a couple of things you can use. You can really use any kind of fertilizer. In the US, there are lots of different varieties. I can't think of it now because I haven't been there in a while, but I'm sure you can go to the garden center. Anything that has any fertilizer that it's made for acidic soil-loving plants, you can use that. So like here I have one in France. It's an organic fertilizer. It's Nvart, Hortensia, Rhododendron, Camellia, and Azalea. So like this one, it's an organic fertilizer. I love this very much. So it's called Naturen. So I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce that, but anyway, I've used this before, and I really love it. They have lots of different varieties of this fertilizer for different purposes, and I love using this brand also. But I think this time for the hydrangeas, I'm going to just use hydrangea and rhododendron dried manure. This is also organic, so I think this one I'm going to use for my rhododendrons and camellias, etc. But this variety I'm going to use for the hydrangeas. So as you guys all know, there's lots of different type of hydrangea, and I think I have several different varieties here in my garden, and I was going to go ahead and show you different ones that I have, and that way you will know how to trim different varieties. So for example, I think I'm going to start right here. These ones are moped hydrangeas. These are they're called different ways, like big leaf hydrangea, mopeds, microphilia, etc. And these are just a really big, full bloom hydrangeas. So for these ones, and then also there are another type. It's called lace caps. I have a lace cap variety right here. This is also, the lace caps are also big leaf hydrangeas, guys, but these ones have a really larger petals on the outside of it, and then small florets in the center. So this is called lace caps, and but they are big leaf hydrangeas. They get treated the same way as the mopeds. So for example, big leaf hydrangeas, what I do usually, they do bloom. First, I wanted to say that they do bloom on old wood, so I don't recommend them being trimmed in the spring. So I always trim them in the fall. When you trim them in the spring, you are risking to cut already formed flowers. So you may not have any flowers in the spring if you trim them in the spring. So I always trim them in the fall, and usually they don't like being trimmed a lot unless they're really big and you would like to control the size of the bush. Then you can go ahead and do that. But again, you might risk losing flowers the following season, but you will have again more flowers the year after that. So I go ahead and usually just trim them right about here. Just remove all the dried flowers off of them. Just clean them out. And I usually let it sit in the spring and see, what part dries out. So a lot of times in the spring, parts of it, where I cut it here, it probably will dry all the way to the, as you can see, like there is already new growth coming up for the spring right here. So usually if I remove the flower heads here, the flowers here, in the spring, this might dry down all the way to here. So what I do in the spring, I just come here and remove that dead part of the dead parts, and then they will start blooming right there. So that's kind of what I do, and then I will fertilize. But first, I want to remove the flowers. So this particular one, I think I'm going to shorten this. I may lose some flowers, may not, I'm not sure. Normally, as I said, if you trim them in the fall, you probably still will have flowers the following or spring. So, but this particular one comes out too much and it's kind of interferes us walking through here. So I will go ahead and just remove them. Even if I don't have flower on this in the spring, it will be okay. So I'll just... And all of this is going into my compost, so which is really exciting. Okay, that. So as I said, the moped hydrangeas, big leaf mopeds, it will be treated exactly as lace cap, just like what I did. So now I have lots of leaves, so I'm just gonna pick up a little bit from here. Okay, so I cleaned out the leaves from the base. Now I'm going to put some fertilizer around, and then I'm going to mulch the base with, I'm sorry, not mulch, lay down some compost right around the base, which I left it here. So this is not a homemade, it's not my homemade compost. I just purchased it from the store. I have some, but I think I don't have a lot, so I'm going to keep my good compost for spring, and I'm still keep making it, hoping to have quite a bit for the spring because I use them a lot. So I just purchased, you can just purchase it if you don't have homemade, or you can use your own. So here we go. I have dried manure right here, so I'm just going to take handful and just incorporate right on a base and just kind of mix it with the soil a little bit, like that. And also remember, the hydrangea roots, they don't go they don't go too deep. So make sure if they are big, if they're good sized bush, you need to make sure to come out a little bit farther and place the fertilizer a little farther out. Okay, and then at this point I will just lay some compost on a base like that. Like that. we don't have snow in our area, so we are going to be, we normally get lots of rain this time of the year until spring. So as much rain, the rain is really great, and so it will soak in really good and will incorporate and help the fertilizer absorb into the roots. And then in the spring, we will have lots of great flowers. So this is a microphylla type hydrangea. So I have another one, that's a different one that I want to go to next. And this one called PG, and I'll show you. Take my stuff with me. Let me bring my compost. Okay guys, so this one is called PG hydrangea. This is actually, as you can see, it's a standard. So it's grafted, the hydrangea PG is grafted on the trunk of the tree. So it has a tree form to it, which is, I absolutely love tree hydrangeas. It's one of my favorites. And you can tell it's already starting little buds here, getting ready for the spring. And PG hydrangeas or paniculata hydrangeas, they also bloom on the old wood. So I won't recommend for anyone to trim them in the spring because you will lose the flowers. They set their flowers early fall, or not early fall, but in the fall, and then they will already be formed by spring. So that's why it's always important for them to be trimmed in the fall. So, but this particular one, I'm going to not only remove the flowers, but also I'm going to shorten the branches. So because it's getting kind of really big and leggy. This is called Phantom, by the way. It's a PG hydrangea type, and it's called Phantom. Has a really big flowers, very beautiful. It's a white. And always when you trim, make sure to trim it right to the bud. I trimmed this one. I might have to trim this one a little more. So that's better. Again, I will just lay down some fertilizer and then also a compost on top of it. Okay, so this is the PG variety, and then I have oak leaf variety right here actually. Look how beautiful the color is. I love oak leaves because they turn this gorgeous red color in the fall. Has beautiful display. Look at this burgundy. It's beautiful. This one called Plows, I believe, if I'm saying it correctly. So this is, as I said, oak leaf hydrangea. They also bloom on an old wood. So I won't recommend anyone to trim them in the spring unless you have to. But again, know that you will lose flowers. This one, I think it bloomed. I had only one flower this spring. So I went ahead and already cut that flower out. So this one I won't even touch this year. All I will do is fertilize it and lay down some compost, and that will be all for this particular variety. So, but it did have lots of flowers. You had to trim that in the fall. And one other type of hydrangea that I wanted to do maintenance on to show you is the Hydrangea arborescens, and that's an American variety. They're called Annabelle. Well, actually, they started with Annabelle, and then they came up with a new, more improved variety of Annabelle. It's has stronger stems that they don't just flop over as quickly, and they call it Incredible. So that's the variety that I have. Now this one is different, but we'll just go ahead and go to the other side, and I will show you what to do with that. So you guys probably have seen in my previous videos this whole big row of Hydrangea Incredibles that I planted last year. They did really, really good. They will get bigger. This is just only for one season. And when I purchased them, they were actually really tiny. They did incredible this last spring and summer. It was just really beautiful. So anyway, now this is a incredible. Look at how big the heads are. They're so huge, and they will get bigger next year. But this hydrangea is called Incredible. As I said, started with the Annabelle variety. It's a Hydrangea arborescens, and it blooms on a new wood. So honestly, if you would just trim this whole thing, the following year it will come back again and bloom. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not recommending to do that because with all the new growth that you will have, they will be really weak. Even though it will bloom and everything, it's fine, and it's not going to hurt your plant. But it will be kind of they will flop over easily. So I really like to keep my wooden stems and just trim down a little bit, for example. So, but if you could trim this in the spring as well. So this particular variety, you can trim in the spring and it will come back fine because again, it blooms on a new wood instead of old. So right now I'm just going to just clean up the flowers first. Okay, so I cleared out all the flowers, dried flowers off of it, and now I might take down just a little bit now instead of the spring. So I might just, take a little bit down. Usually it's good to trim about the third of it. But again, when you trim them, just go to the next bud. See, it's already forming buds right here, right there. So make sure to go to the next, and I would think that this part will dry out, it will be dead in the spring, so I'll just trim this one off in the spring. So I would just trim a little bit, and then in the spring, usually I just come here and check everything to see if there is any dead branches or damaged branches, anything that is dead and damaged, I would just remove them in the spring, and then they will be just fine. There it is. So we have, I'm finished here, and I will go ahead and finish this entire row, every single one of them. And always remember, hydrangeas need lots of food because they produce, look at the size of these flowers, they need lots of strength to really produce these huge flowers. So I find them, car is going by, I find hydrangeas need lots of food. So if you can feed them, they produce lots of great flowers. So this is all for today, and I just thought this might be helpful since I had to do this project anyway. But also I wanted to just really really quick show you my last project. It's a kind of a messy area, as all of you know. This is where I'm working still, going up, but I just wanted to show you this little area that I managed to finish digging, and I'm ready to plant there, so I wanted to just quickly show you what I've done. Let's go this way. So right here, as many of you probably have seen my previous videos, that I was working on this area, and this is all the stuff that I had to cut, remove, and move out, which we have to deal with. But right here I finished. As you can see, I started digging all the way there, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do there yet, so I placed the edging right there for now because I know that will be permanent. So anyway, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to go there, but this part is finished. I went all the way down to this part, got it done. So I'm really excited to start planting new flowers and new plants here. I have a couple of things that they're new for me, that I haven't had. I've never worked with them before, so I'm excited to try to work with them. I do need it. I am short a few more steps here, which I'd like to continue all the way to the end to make it to be a maintenance path for me to work on the flowers on the other side. but I think it worked out really good. I'm really happy how it turned out. It's really messy right now because lots of leaves and I need to clean it up. But overall, it turned out really, really great. I'm loving it. Like, I really like how it turned out. So anyway, you guys, hope you like this video. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up everything that I had to do with the rest of the hydrangeas, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.